We should open up. We should start tonight with the country's open. Congratulations.
Trump's biggest weakness is also one of his biggest strengths, the fact that whatever he says goes.
Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay?
And after a sweeping victory for Democrats last night, with incredible wins for centrist candidates like Mikey Sherrill and Abigail Spanberger, and also a massive shakeup in New York City with Zohran Mamdani becoming the city's first Muslim and Democratic Socialist mayor, Donald Trump couldn't stop himself from going into complete meltdown mode, posting this very long rant that's aimed at Republicans. If I remember correctly from Art of the Deal, people make mistakes when they're freaking out, and this is an instance where I think you gotta let your enemies make mistakes. Make sure to subscribe to Really American, and let's jump right into it. Trump's toddler-like attention span is used to the Republicans' benefit. They can just jangle the keys in front of him and inject whatever idea they want into his brain. But sometimes he gets something in his head that shakes the establishment to its core. J.D. Vance, one of those injected ideas that I was just referring to, posted Donald Trump's rant without any comment. Trump whines, "The Democrats are far more likely to win the midterms and the next presidential election if we don't do the termination of the filibuster, the nuclear option, because it will be impossible for Republicans to get common sense policies done with these crazed Democrat lunatics being able to block everything by withholding their votes."
It's time for Republicans to do what they have to do, and that's terminate the filibuster. It's the only way you can do it. And if you don't terminate the filibuster, you'll be in bad shape. We won't pass any legislation. There'll be no legislation passed for 3.25. We have 3.25 years, so it's a long time. But when they can't do an extension, and John, I think they've done an extension every single time they've ever been asked forever. This is the first time they haven't done an extension. Extensions are supposed to be easy, but if they won't do an extension, they won't do any bill, even a simple bill. And we should do our own bills. We should get out. We should do our own bills. We should open up. We should start tonight with the country's open. Congratulations.
That's right, the filibuster. Donald Trump is going against the Republican grain and going to bat for a generally progressive policy. As John Oliver put it in an excellent segment from back in 2017, Donald Trump's first term, the filibuster is a longly held tradition that is often revered as a way to force the Senate to debate in good faith and to come together to pass bipartisan legislation. But it's really just used to stop liberal and progressive policies before they even really get a chance.
We have reached a point where senators don't so much brag about what they've passed as brag about what they are going to obstruct. Just watch Mitch McConnell promising a room of supporters that the Green New Deal and Medicare for All won't even see a vote if they ever end up in his chamber.
None of those things are going to pass the Senate. They won't even be voted on. So think of me as the Grim Reaper. The guy who's going to make sure that socialism doesn't land on the president's desk.
Okay, Mitch, you really don't have to tell me to think of you as the Grim Reaper. It's like if Donald Trump said, think of me as a bunch of trash bags from a Cracker Barrel dumpster brought to life by an ancient curse when a clown fucked a car alarm. I'm way ahead of you there, buddy. I already think of you that way.
The self-described Grim Reaper, Mitch McConnell, has perfected the art of weaponizing the filibuster, making the filibuster central to the do-nothing strategy that the Republicans, and to some degree centrist Democrats like Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema, have utilized to stymie progress. And as it is such a useful tool, they have fiercely defended the filibuster, going back to Donald Trump's first term, when he identified it as a way to get around the then Democratic Congress. Here's a 2017 headline from Politico: GOP senators reject Trump's call to end the filibuster. And similarly now, the Republicans are pushing back against his idea of removing the filibuster in order to shoehorn as many fascist policies as possible before the inevitable blue wave comes next year. Here's the headline from this week. Republicans push back against Trump's call to end the Senate filibuster. So we are seeing a real divide here between what the Senate says that they want to do and what Donald Trump wants. During Trump's first term, we saw him give in to some of the demands that came from the establishment Republicans. But Donald Trump's second term is a whole different ballgame. If you search filibuster on his Truth Social account, you can see that he completely flips back and forth on this. When he's in office, he's against the filibuster because it's stopping his Republicans in the Senate from passing his mandate. But he was pro-filibuster back in 2024 when Biden was president, saying congratulations to Joe Manchin for not endorsing Kamala because it was a death wish for the filibuster. Cut to last week, and all of a sudden, he's back on the anti-filibuster train, daring the Republicans to take the nuclear option. And we all know how much Trump loves the N-word.
The N-word. You know what the N-word is?
And Democrats find ourselves in a unique position of encouraging Trump to touch the stove rather than trying to restrain him like we usually are.
What about on Truth Social, where he's been talking about the filibuster as one's king of one's regime does?
Well, he is telling the Republicans, the Senate Republicans, get rid of the filibuster. Now is the time so you can push through the budget. I think that the Democrats are just salivating over this. And I think the Republicans are scared. They don't want to get rid of this filibuster because they know that if the Democrats take over in the midterms or whenever at some point the Democrats are going to have the Senate, the first thing they're going to do is make Washington, D.C. another state.
Yes.
Free D.C.
Free D.C. They're going to free D.C.
And that means 2 more senators, Democratic senators.
Yep.
And this is the Republican nightmare.
If you ask me, the smartest thing that Democrats could do right now is to pretend to panic. Act like we want to preserve the filibuster. A little reverse psychology usually works pretty well with childlike minds. That and flattery, which are the 2 main ways that Donald Trump gets convinced of things. And if he thinks that the Democrats desperately need the filibuster right now, that we're so scared that he'll get rid of it, then he'll probably end up demanding that it be removed. And if the sycophantic, bootlicking, brown-nosed cowards that call themselves the Republicans in Congress actually go through with his demands, since they seem to be doing whatever Trump says right now, they will likely end up shooting themselves in the foot, as the opportunity to take advantage of a filibuster-free Senate will be closing rapidly. Whatever damage they can manage to do in the next year will be easy to stop or reverse once that blue wave hits like a tsunami on the water planet of Interstellar come midterms 2026. But until then, make sure you're subscribed to Really American for all the news that MAGA doesn't want you to know. I'm Tony Hinderman, and I'll catch you next time.